Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dave Hayes and this is Hayes Tech. This is the channel where we talk about pretty much anything tech, and I do mean anything. We go over any kind of tech you could possibly think of. I love tech, so that's why I started my channel. If it's tech related, I'm gonna try to do a video on it. I also like to try to help everybody out as best I can. So why did I want to make this video? Well, I've had my Canon 90D now for about 6 or 7 months. I think it's more like 8 months now. And I thought, since I was so adjusted to it, and since I've used it for as long as I have now, that I would do a second video on it and let you all know what my thoughts are now, 7-8 months later. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my Canon 90D, and I'm going to let you guys know what I think about it 6, 7, 8 months down the line. Is it worth getting? Is it worth spending the money on a Canon 90D? As soon as we come back, we're going to go ahead and jump into it, so don't go away. And as always, if you liked my video, don't forget to hit that like button and share my videos. It really helps me out. And if you're new to the channel and you like what you saw, think about subscribing. And if you subscribe, don't forget to hit that notification bell icon. That way you get a notification of my videos as soon as I release them. Alright, before we go any further, I just wanted to get out there again that whenever I hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away this camera that you're viewing me on right now, and this is my Canon T6i. I will be letting it go with a kit lens on it, which is an 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens, and instead of giving it away with the kit lens that came with it, I'm going to put the 18 to 55 millimeter lens that came on my 90D, I'm going to let that one go with this camera. And the reason why is because it's a little bit bigger, and it stops down to f3.5 as opposed to the f4.5 that the lens stopped down to that came with this camera. So again, remember, whenever we hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving this camera to one of you. And I can't wait. Alright, I've been wanting to do this video now for quite some time, but I wanted to make sure that I was used to this camera and knew the controls on it enough that I could give it a fair evaluation. And even though I probably don't use this camera like most people do, I will be reviewing it, or I will be discussing it as I use it, and I use it as somebody would that has a handicap, okay? And that's another reason why I went with this camera. Now, I also will be taking my 90D out of the mix here real soon, and I'll be holding it, and I'll be going spinning it around, showing you some of the features on it that I like, that I don't like, how to use this, that. That way I can, be as thorough as I could possibly be with it. And then after that, we're going to take the camera outside, and I'm going to let you guys see what it looks like shooting. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I am at Canon's website because I want to make sure that all the information I give you is as accurate as I can possibly give you. One of the things that I think is most important about this camera is the 32.5 megapixel sensor that it has in it. And it is a CMOS sensor, and CMOS is an acronym, CMOS. I'm not sure what it stands for, but most cameras have those sensors in them. Now, it is a 32.5 megapixel, and it is called an APS-C size or APS-C type sensor. Now, you have your full frame sensor, then you have your sensors that are in between full size and APS-C, which is Canon, and the ones that are in between those two, that would be like what comes on a Sony camera. And then you have the smaller micro guys stroke brain, all right? And those kind of sensors is what you'd find on like the Panasonic cameras. Now, before we go any further, guys, don't put a lot into sensor size, okay? Yes, I would love to have a full frame or a full-size camera with a full-frame sensor in it, but there's nothing wrong with these smaller sensors. Believe me, there are discussions out there and arguments out there that this one's better than that one, and it doesn't matter. It's all on how you use the camera and other things, which we're going to discuss on the 90D, that play a pretty good factor in the camera itself. It also has a Digic 8 image processor. Okay, so you have your sensor. Now the sensor is, if you pull the lens off the camera and you flip up the mirror, and this one doesn't have a mirror in it. This is the M50. This is a pure digital camera. This one is a DSLR, and it's a digital camera, but it still has that flip up mirror on. But if you was to flip that mirror up, you would see a rectangle in the back, and that's the sensor on it. And that is what is actually gathering all the light and everything that it sees in it. That is what is 32.5 megapixels, all right? But it also has a Digic 8 processor, and the processor you got to think of is like your processor in your computer, okay? And the Digic 8 image processor is Canon's newest processor on the market so far, and it's just got a lot of features. And I'll just read quickly off their website. The Digic 8 image processor helps produce high image quality and fast operation, even in low light, and that I can attest for. When using high ISO settings, the image processor helps keep results sharp and detailed in virtually any lighting situations. Now, you got to take that a little bit with a grain of salt, because then you're going to have all auto settings, and yeah, I don't like to use auto settings whenever I can get away from that. Powerful all around, the Digic 8 image processor helps ensure your photos and videos look sharp and lifelike with minimal noise or grain. And that I can say is pretty true on this camera. In fact, with the new image processor that they have on it, it allows for eye detection. So when I'm looking at my screen right now, I can see a square around my face, and I also see a square around the eye that's closest to the lens. So it's focusing not only on my face, but on my eyeball as well. So it's going to give you a very crisp and clear image on pretty much anything that you shoot if you're using autofocus. So that's what makes it nice. You don't have to worry. Somebody like me who is not a professional with cameras, and I rely on autofocus a lot, that's one of the reasons I went with a Canon camera. They have some of the best autofocus out there. Sony is a hair better in my opinion, but we're talking a hair better. Canon's dual pixel autofocus is just freaking phenomenal. This camera will shoot in 4K, and it does not crop in at all, zero, and you get your dual pixel autofocus. Now, back when I was shooting on my M50, you lose your dual pixel autofocus when you go into 4K, and it crops in, massively crops in whenever you go to 4K, which sucks. Everybody knows, and that was one of the things we hated. That major crop you get, and the fact that you don't have dual pixel autofocus. The lens that I am actually shooting with right now on this camera is my 18 to 135 millimeter, and it stops down to f3.5, and I decided to go with this lens as opposed to the lens that I'm running on my T6i right now, just because I could get that extra zoom if I needed it, all the way up to 135 millimeters. So, you know, that's another thing to think about when you get this camera. There are several kit lenses you can order with this camera. This is one of them. If it was me to do this over again, I would have got the 18 to 135 as opposed to getting the 18 to 55 millimeter, you know, like I said, like I'm going to be giving away with my T6i. Now, that's not to say that the 18 to 55 millimeter that you can get with the Canon 90D isn't a good lens, because it is. I just like the fact that this lens can zoom in way further, you know, up to 135 millimeters. So, alright, so what do you say we take this camera off its stand and I get it in front of the other cameras for you, and I show you some of the features on it, and then I'll talk about what I think about this camera, you know, 7 to 8 months later. So, we were talking about the 90D. One of the things that I did want to say is this is a heavy camera. So, if you guys don't want to get a camera that is heavy, you want something light, don't look into SLR type cameras. Now, this is a digital SLR, But if you just want a digital camera, you want to get something like the M50. Now, the M50 is not a true DSLR because it does not have a flip-up mirror in it. It just has a sensor behind the lens, and that's it. As you guys can see, you can it does have the port on top where you can hook a microphone to it. So it is a hot shoe. It does plug into the side here, and also, if you guys can see, it also has a headphone jack right here. So unlike, now here's where this steps up in performance into more of a professional type camera. This actually has a port where you can put headphones, so you can actually monitor your audio while you're recording a video, whereas none of my other cameras have that. My M50 has a microphone port but no headphones. Cameras like the T6i, the M50, a lot of the other lower priced cameras do not have a port that you can plug in headphones so you can monitor your audio on it. So what I'm going to do is take the microphone off of this real quick. Okay, another one of the cool features about this camera is not only does it have a ton of ports on it, it is also water resistant. Now, it is not waterproof, but you can shoot in the rain and in adverse conditions and not have to worry about this camera, because all of the ports on the camera have rubber coverings on it. Not hard plastic, but actual rubber coverings that go right into the ports and seal them up. Like I said, here's the port right here for your microphone and your headphones. And then you have a port right here, and that is for an external remote. The remote control will plug into here. That way you can take pictures, start your videos, stop your videos, all with a remote which is wired right into it. It has this port here, and inside here is of course your HDMI and your video out port. Okay, so if I wanted to live stream and do stuff like that, I would be using these ports. And yes, it does come with the wires that you need for those ports. Now on the other side, if you push this back, this is where the SD card goes, and yes, it takes a full-size SD card and not a micro SD. Listen, I'm going to go on a tangent here. If you guys are going to record on these, if you're going to record a video, get the most expensive SD card you can get, all right, for recording video. You want the fastest SD card that the camera will support, and this camera will support the fastest SD cards on the market. It just will. And the faster the SD card is that you use in the camera, the better quality your videos are going to be. Just letting you know right now. And I'm still trying to learn how to live stream with this, and you can, I just haven't figured it out yet. But here's one of the big things. Again, Canon cameras, you have this flip out screen, but it also rotates around. So if you rotate it around, now you can use it as a vlogging camera, and you can actually frame yourself in your shot. However you want to do it, you can frame yourself, and away you go. Now, of course, over here is the button for you to change your settings on, your M stand, your manual setting, which is M, then you have AV, TV, P, then you have your, I think it's video mode, then you have your scene mode, and then of course you have all your little preset modes, which the camera has, special functions in it that kind of does things for you. Okay, those are the automatic settings, which is nice. I'm not a professional with a camera yet. I don't use those preset modes, but it's nice to have them on there for somebody that is absolutely very new to cameras. Some of these scene modes really helps out a lot. Then the other nice thing about this camera is it's got this window up here, and this window actually tells you whenever your camera's on what all your settings are at, what your ISO settings, your metering, all that. It lets you know. Then you have 4 little buttons on the top that give you your autofocus button. You can push that on or off. Then you have your drive mode, your ISO, and your metering mode. Now here is your dial. This dial right here will basically, it's used for whatever setting you're in. So if if I'm in my ISO setting, I can use this to adjust my ISO, or whatever setting you're in, this will scroll through that. Plus, all of these buttons you can program to do whatever you want. So that's another nice thing about this camera. Just like Panasonic cameras, they let you program your buttons to pretty much do anything. So especially with me having my stroke and I can't use my right side hardly at all, I can program these buttons to do what I want. Alright, so that just makes it great. Now the other function that I really like on this camera is the scrolling wheel function right here. So this scrolls, and just like this button up here that scrolls, whatever you're in, say your autofocus, your ISO setting, whatever, when you scroll this, that will adjust whatever settings you're in. And then it's got your little push pad here, which instead of it being a 4-position push pad, up, down, left, right, it's got it's an 8-way selector. Okay, then you have your video play button, which is right here, and you have your delete button, which is right here, and you also have your lock button. So if you take this button and push it on lock, none of these wheels or anything will change anything. It locks it. All right, here's your on-off button. Also, another nice feature about this camera is the only way you can actually move this dial is to push down on the center button. That way you don't inadvertently hit this scroll wheel and change whatever you're shooting on and screw up your shot. So it's nice it has that. Now of course it has the button right here in the front, and this is of course for taking pictures. You can also program this to be your record button, so that when you push it all the way down, it'll start recording if you want to do that. But for the most part, and this is how I do it, whenever you record a video, you hit this button here, and this is your record button. This little button right next to the record button, this is your autofocus on-off button. It's your dedicated autofocus on-off. There aren't any more buttons inside here. Oh, this is your menu button. Okay, so if you want to get into the menus, you have to push this button here, and then this button here changes your scene mode. Okay, on the record button, it's also a switch. It's got a little switch. So if I rotate that switch this way, like that, it's now in camera mode. If I push it back that way, it's in video mode. So I'm going to put it in camera mode. I'm going to power it up. Now this button over here is your info. If you push that once, it gives you the information that you're shooting, because now we have it in picture mode. If you push the record button that we would normally record video on while it's in camera mode, that gives you your live view. All right, so this is how I use it as a camera. When I want to take a picture, I touch and it takes a picture. Okay, now I have this on like a 3-second timer, but you can change all that. In the battery compartment down here, you can actually buy a battery insert that goes into this that will allow you to have an add-on battery pack on the bottom to give you an extended time on it. It actually makes the camera much bigger, but it's a nice item to buy, especially if you're going to be out and you don't want to have to change batteries a lot. Now another nice thing about it is they sell what looks like a battery that will go into this, but it's got a wire coming from the battery that you plug into the charger, and then you can live stream with this for forever. You don't have to worry about the battery going dead. So again, another nice feature about this camera. Now that does not come with the camera, you have to buy it separately, but it's a great feature. Okay, here we are using it as like a vlogging rig outside. Now one thing that you want to remember is this camera does have image stabilization built into the lens. I don't think it has image stabilization built into the camera, but I do know that it does have stabilization built into the lens. So you are going to get a little bit of stabilization in it, but not enough to where it's going to make it look buttery smooth, like what you get on a GoPro. It's just not going to happen. This is the kind of image that you can expect out of this camera, and of course this is not the best day to be shooting because it's cloudy out, so the colors don't pop, they're not that vibrant. I actually had to turn my f-stop all the way
down. Well, you say down, but I had to turn it up to f8.0. Basically what that does is close the iris up so it would block out some of the light, because even though it is cloudy outside, it is still bright enough that without a filter on my lens, it wants to blow the image out. So this is what you can expect out of this camera if you were going to use it as like a vlogging rig. So let's go ahead and set it up as if I was going to be just shooting a video outdoors. Okay, so I have it now set up as if I was going to be making a video outside and the camera on a tripod, and you know, here it is. This is what the audio sounds like with my Rode video mic on top of it. Audio test 1 2 3, audio test 1 2 3. I think the Rode video mic gives it a fairly decent sound, but it's still nowhere near the sound you're going to get from like the Sony lapel mic, and of course my Zoom H1N audio recorder, which I keep in my pocket. Just wanted to make sure I didn't bump that volume button on it. So yeah, again, the Canon 90D is a very versatile camera. You can use it to vlog with, although it's pretty heavy and bulky. You can use it outside as a, you know, as a video camera outside. I just love this camera. It's nice to have a camera that gives me so many control options on it that the 90D gives, and that has that, you know, that water-resistant functionality to it. And again, that allows me to put a set of headphones on it to monitor the audio that's going into the camera. Now, one thing I'm going to say before we go back inside and close this video up, if you're going to run a microphone on it, I recommend spending a little bit of money, getting one of those attachments that goes, you know, into the top where my mic is right now, you know, that sits on top of the camera, that allows you to plug an XLR microphone into it. It has its own preamps built right into it, and you're going to get a more professional sounding audio system out of it that way than you are as if you were going to plug like a Rode video mic directly into the camera. Now, that's not to say that there aren't microphones on the market that you can plug directly into this camera that won't sound good, because there are. This Sony lapel mic that I have, if I plug this thing directly into that camera, the audio sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound anywhere near as good as it does from what you're hearing right now, you know, going into my Zoom H1N. But I think this microphone sounds better than the Rode video mic plugged into that camera when I plug this straight into it. So there you go. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and close this video out.
Okay, well, I hope you got a little something out of that. I didn't want to shoot a lot of pictures on my 90D just because I'm not a photographer, all right? I use this camera for videography, and that's it, you know? This, to me, is a video camera, a high-end video camera that I can shoot in 4K, and I can put multiple, unlimited number of lenses on it, so I can change the mood or whatever. So that's the way it is. Also, while I'm thinking about it, before I let you all go, just remember I'm going to be giving my T6i away to one of you as soon as I hit 5,000 subs. So spread the word, share my videos, get the word out. The sooner we get to 5,000 subs, the sooner I give this camera to one of you. I don't like the fact that when you're shooting anything above 1080p 60 frames per second, you lose your dual pixel autofocus. The second thing I don't like, it doesn't have all of the different color options or preset color grades that Canon has, and the only way you get them is, again, with a more expensive model camera, and I just think that's bull. I think, you know, that maybe don't give it to us on the camera, but at least allow us to download it from Canon. The last thing that sucks about the 90D, it's bulky and heavy, so it really puts a handicap on me with my handicap. It's very heavy. When I hold it, I look really stupid when I'm holding it. I definitely have to hold it with two hands, or again, I'm afraid I'm going to drop the camera, and man, I do not want to drop a $1,300 camera. So, but with that being said, the Canon 90D has nothing but good in everywhere else. The image on the 90D is phenomenal. The autofocus on the Canon 90D is phenomenal. The colors that you get on it, yeah, they're a little oversaturated, but that's what Canon does. And I personally like the way Canon videos and pictures look while taken on a Canon camera. Now, if you shoot in a flat picture mode, you can color grade that, but again, I am not into all those professional video recording programs on the market that allow you to edit, you know, your color grade and so on and so on. I like to use the image straight out of the camera, no color grading, and just, you know, do all my edits, upload it to YouTube, and away we go. With that said, I mean, come on, the image off this camera, again, in my opinion, is phenomenal. I love it. I like the fact that there are tons and tons of lenses on the market. Again, I have nothing but good to say about the Canon 90D. Yes, you could probably get away with like the T6i or the M50 or any of the other cameras that Canon sells that are half the cost of the 90D. But again, you do not get all the features that the Canon 90D gives you, and you know, and that alone is what I like. The way I look at it is, if you have the money to spend on the Canon 90D, I say get it. Okay, what about the Canon 80D or the Canon 70D? You know, if, you know, do I recommend getting one of those over this one? And I say no. Save the money, get the 90D. If you were going to get an 80D, I would save your money and just go for the 90D. And the reason is, you do get that 32.5 megapixel sensor in it. You do get the dual pixel autofocus that has 54 points of autofocus detection on it. It's just a better camera. It's upgraded from the 80D to a point where I say, you know, this is way above the Canon 80D. That's not to say that the 80D is not a good camera, because it is. If all you're going to do is shoot in 1080p and that's it, then, you know, there's no sense in you purchasing the Canon 90D. Get the 80D. You're going to save, you know, $300-400 on new, even more than that on a used one, and you're not going to be losing much. But with that said, again, just the image quality you get on the 90D, and that outstanding autofocus that you also get with the 90D, I just highly recommend it. You know, I really do. Alright guys, I've kept you long enough. I hope you liked the video. I hope you got a little something out of it. I know a lot of you guys out there are not camera people. I get it, I know. But there are several of you out there who are. I do get a lot of new people that watch my videos, and I've got quite a few hits on some of the videos I put out on the cameras that I have. So that's basically who I'm making this video for, are people who are thinking about getting a 90D and are just wondering if it's worth it. So there you go. Alright everybody, don't forget about my giveaway. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And that's all I have, and I will see you all on the next one.